Now we're going to talk about components and extensions. Components and extensions are what adds functionality to your site. So if we go over here and look at components, we have a bunch of them that are pre-installed. We have banners, contacts, Joomla update. Well, you see them here. So these are all components that are pre-installed, and we're already in the tags before. Over here we have extension, and in the extensions we have the extension manager, we have the module manager. So if we go into the module manager, this is where you would find the modules that you have installed here. So we have our breadcrumbs, articles. This is the menu that we made here. We have the main menu and the login form. Okay, and then we go back up to extensions. We have plugins. So you can add different plugins to your site to increase the functionality. And again, it comes with a bunch of them pre-installed, but they're not all enabled. You see the ones with check marks are enabled, and the ones without are disabled. So there's a lot of them in here that aren't enabled, and some that are enabled that you may not want. So you can go through here and change any of these, and there's quite a lot of these in here by default because we haven't installed any yet. All we installed was a theme for demonstration purposes, but you do the same thing when you are installing modules. All you have to do is, let's go to the extension manager. Now you remember this is where we installed the theme by uploading a package file. So you can do the same thing, or you can install from a directory on your server. You can install from a URL, and we enabled this install from web right at the beginning here, so we can go through these and install them from here. So let's go and just do install one. Doesn't really matter. We'll just pick one here to install. Okay, so each of these, you can see the reviews and the description of what it does down here. So just pick one you want to install. Okay, so let's look at the Google Maps here. So if we want to install this using this method, install it from web, from the tab that we added here, you just click there. Okay, and then you'll just see here it's a plugin, so we can just install it. Click install. Okay, so we now have that installed. So that's another way you can do it. It's a little bit easier, so you don't have to go tracking down the files and download them and then re-upload them again to install them. Okay, so now if we go up to extensions and plugin manager, now to find it, let's just do a search here. Okay, and then there's our Google Maps. You see that it's disabled, so we can enable it now. Now we've enabled the Google Maps plugin, and we can use it on our site. So as you see, the possibilities are virtually endless. All you have to do is install the extensions that you need, and you can increase your functionality. Just put on there exactly what you want. And you see that there's filters over here as well. I put in a search for Google, but you can search for different parameters over here to try and narrow down what you're trying to find. Now you can also, let me take this out of here. You can also click on these to sort. So if we click here, so now let's bring in the disabled ones up first, or by name, type, element, etc. So you can sort those so you can find them easier. Okay, and then you can enable them one at a time and disable one at a time, or you can select a bunch and do it from up here. You'll also see up here item called check-in, and you see this on a lot of the screens, articles, and so on. And the reason that is there is because Joomla is a multi-user type system, you could have multiple admins in doing something. And let's say we were in one of these plugins doing something, and then we walked away from it and then closed the browser and never saved it. It would be checked out by the system when we were editing it, and it would never be checked back in. So if somebody else wants to work on it, or if we come back and sign in later and it's marked checkout, we can check it in with that button. Okay, so it just prevents any type of errors if multiple people are trying to do something. They're automatically checked out by the system, and if something goes wrong, you can check them back in. Now let's go work with some of the components that we have installed on here now. So you can add banners. Contacts is one that we should have in here. So we have contacts and categories. Categories would be if you have, say, a shipping department and a parts department and administration department. So you would want to set up categories for the different contacts. So let's set up one called sales. Okay, and then we have our different options again. Okay, our permissions and options. Over on this side, we can have parents again who can access them, the language, tags. So now if we wanted to use one of the tags, we can use them here. So for truck sales, we could use truck. We could also add SUV. So you're allowed to add multiple tags there. Okay, so that's all I'm going to put here is sales. So we're going to save and new, and we'll put service here. Okay, now really tags doesn't really make sense on this type of an item, but I just wanted to show you how they work. So I'm not going to actually put that in. I'm going to use save and close. Now what we can do, let's disable this uncategorized. So now what we can do is add contacts. Go up to here to contacts. Now we can add new. Okay, and then you would select a user. Now we don't have really any users in here other than the admin user right now. So I guess that's who will submit. But otherwise you would have some users in there. And then you can fill the rest of this out here. So you could put their image in, their position, say their marketing manager, their email, their address, whatever of these items that you want to put in here, you can use. Now let's go over to this side and we're in sales. So we pick that category. Now we can also go up to miscellaneous information and give more information about this contact. Publishing, display, and the form. Okay, so you can fill any of these out that you need. So let's go back to here and save. So I forgot to put the name of the contact in there, so sales manager. And you don't have to actually use a user, but if you do, it populates this for you. Let me just show you here. So we're going to save and close. Okay, now what I want to do is go and put this on a menu now. So let's go to menus, and we want the main menu, and we want to add. And then we're going to select and contacts. Okay, and then list all contacts. Okay, now let's put in here contact us. And then we have other things, so categories, and then the list layout. Okay, so you can change any of these to fit the way you want them to look. I'm just going to leave everything at the defaults here. Okay, so as you can see, there are a lot of things that you can change here. Okay, and then on this side, so we're in the main menu. Okay, so there we go. So let's save and close. Now let's go look at our site. And now we have contact us. And then there's sales and sales manager. Okay, and there it is there. Now back on the settings, we could have turned off any of these things that we didn't want them to see. So that's how you can get your contact us information on there. Okay, so this is how you use the components. Let's go through another example here. So with messaging, you can send private messages. Okay, so you pick the recipient out of here, and then you put the subject in here, and you can just put the message down here, and then you can send it. Let's go back up here now to components, and let's go to news feeds. These are feeds that you can bring into your site from other sites. Let's go to categories. Okay, so let's set up a new category here. And we'll call this reviews. And then you can give it a description down here, just like always. Again, we have parent, so we can have child and parent categories for this, or tags and so on. Okay, publishing, so we have publishing options, permissions again, and options. So I'm just going to leave that there. I can do save and close. Now we're going to add a feed. So let's say new. Okay, so I'll put a title up here. Let's say from Hemmings. Okay, and then we need to put the link in. So let's go to Hemmings and find a link. Okay, so I went to their blog and then down to the bottom here. And you'll see here's the RSS feed right here. So let's just copy the link location. Let's come back over here, put the link in here. Okay, over here, our category, I have it as reviews. That actually is incorrect, but it doesn't matter in this case. But I probably want to pick something more like news here because it's coming from Hemmings rather than the reviews. Okay, the images. So again, we've seen this before. We can bring in an image here. Publishing. I made a description and so on this side. And display. Okay, so number of articles and so on. Okay, so you set this up the way you want. Let's save. Okay, so now we have an RSS feed, news feed set up from Hemmings. Okay, so let's close. Okay, so let's put that on a menu now. We'll go to the main menu again, and we'll add a new menu item. We're going to select the type here, and news feeds. Okay, so you pick how you want it here. So news. Okay. So I'm just going to save and close. Okay, now we can move these up and down just by grabbing the items here and moving them where we want. So let's put the contact underneath here. So move this one up probably. There we go. Okay, let's go look at our site. There's our news feed. Reviews. Okay, and then from Hemmings. Okay, and there it's showing the information from that news feed. And let's just go back here. You see this display here in the options. We could have turned this off. I just took the defaults, but you can turn these things off within there if you don't like those there. Okay, so that should give you a good idea of how you can use the different components that you install to add functionality to your site, and how to install modules and plugins so that you can put all the functionality you need on your site. Okay, one more thing I want to show you before we conclude the video. Let's go back up here to Extension Manager. Now, I didn't go over this stuff on the left side here, so if you go to Updates, it'll show you anything that needs to be updated. Okay, so no updates. Here you can manage your extensions. Okay, and we have been in here, but from another area. Okay, so like I said before, you can turn these on or off. Discover. Okay, so this is for any extensions that you may have uploaded outside of this area. Some of them are too large. You might have to upload them using an FTP program. So this will tell you any of those that are here. And this is our database information. Okay, any warnings that there might be. And then if you want to install language packs. Okay, so you can install them from here. And then update sites. Okay, so this just shows you some stuff that's within the site here. All right, so what I want to do in the next video now is we're going to have a look at how we can change the top here. We want to change these colors and the logo here, this information. So we're going to do that, and we're also going to change a template, and I'm going to show you how we can move these across. In this template, there's no right-hand side, so everything's on the left. So we'll do that in the next video.